This wasn't an accident, this wasn't random, and this damn sure wasn't just rap beef for entertainment. The conflict between NBA YoungBoy and NLE Choppa is one of the clearest examples of how modern hip-hop turns personal philosophy into public warfare, where diss tracks aren't just insults, but ideological attacks. To understand how this got here, you have to rewind before the music, before the videos, before Houston, before belts and bars, because this started with friendship, overlap, and unspoken lines that were crossed long before anyone admitted it out loud. The roots of the tension trace back to January 2022, when what should have been a forgettable online exchange turned into something that never fully cooled off. At the time, NLE Choppa and NBA YoungBoy were not enemies. There was no open hostility, no diss records, no obvious beef. There was something quietly forming beneath the surface. NLE Choppa had close ties to King Von, an artist whose camp was already deeply entangled in conflict with Quando Rondo, one of NBA YoungBoy's closest affiliates. That connection alone placed Choppa inside a web of tension, whether he wanted to be there or not. In hip-hop, proximity is politics. You don't have to diss someone directly to be read as choosing a side. And while Choppa has repeatedly stated there was no bloodshed and no desire for real violence, he's also been clear about one thing. If there's enough tension to rap about, then in his mind, that's beef. That definition matters, because it explains everything that came next. By the mid-2020s, NLE Choppa had publicly shifted his image and message. He leaned into spirituality, discipline, self-reflection, and responsibility. He openly criticized violence in hip-hop and spoke about artists influencing the youth in destructive ways. NBA YoungBoy, on the other hand, never rebranded. He never apologized for his reality, never softened his message, never reframed his pain as a lesson. YoungBoy represents expression without filtration. Choppa represents correction through consciousness. Those two mindsets don't peacefully coexist, especially when one starts speaking about the other. Everything changed in October 2025 when NLE Choppa released KO. This wasn't subliminal. This wasn't indirect. This was a named, intentional public shot. Choppa sampled Dennis Edwards' "Don't Look Any Further," the same sample used by Tupac's "Hit 'Em Up." That choice alone sent a message. This is war music, but the content is what lit the fuse. On KO, Choppa directly criticized NBA YoungBoy's influence, accusing him of poisoning the youth. The music video went even further, featuring a YoungBoy look-alike being struck with a belt, a visual metaphor that fans immediately interpreted as punishment. That wasn't just disrespect, that was moral judgment, and Choppa didn't walk it back. In a Rolling Stone interview, he explained that the song came to him in a dream, that the steps were ordered, and that addressing YoungBoy wasn't personal hatred, but what he described as an assignment. That word matters, because when you frame dissing another artist as a duty, you're not rapping anymore. You're condemning. Choppa even acknowledged that YoungBoy was aware of his influence, saying, "I've heard interviews from him that he's conscious of what he's doing. I have no problems with him, but that's the part where my assignment comes in. That's not competition. That's positioning yourself as the moral authority." NBA YoungBoy didn't immediately respond, and that silence drove people crazy. Because in hip-hop, silence is either confidence or calculation. In November 2025, YoungBoy released Zero IQ Freestyle. He never named NLE Choppa directly, but nobody missed the point. Lines like, "Respond to him, he ain't never ran nothing down, bitch. I said, no," were widely interpreted as a direct response to Choppa's provocations. This was classic YoungBoy. No interviews, no explanations, no validation of the diss, just a message. I don't answer to you. And that refusal mattered more than any insult, because Choppa didn't just want attention, he wanted engagement. On November 29, 2025, NLE Choppa escalated again with "Hello Revenge." This time, he didn't leave room for interpretation. He labeled it explicitly as a YoungBoy diss. The video opens with Bible verses, immediately framing the song in moral and spiritual language. Choppa appears in an all-black cowboy fit, blending symbolism with confrontation. Then the bars hit. Rap went dead, I'ma bring it back alive. I'm the truth, but the devil is a lie. YB Louis 5 belt to his spine slash. Anybody with him better get him before he crossed the line. This wasn't just disrespect. This was Choppa placing himself as truth and YoungBoy as corruption. The reaction was split. Some praised Choppa for being refreshingly creative and challenging hypermasculinity in hip-hop. Others mocked the presentation, comparing him to Hakeem Lion from Empire, implying that the moment felt theatrical rather than authentic. But regardless of opinion, one thing was clear. Choppa was demanding a response, and YoungBoy still wasn't giving him one. Then came Houston. In December 2025, NLE Choppa had a tense, in-person confrontation with NBA Ben 10, a known affiliate of NBA YoungBoy. The interaction was recorded. It spread instantly, and it changed the temperature. This wasn't a rap metaphor anymore. This was real proximity, real tension, real risk. Shots were traded verbally. Commentary exploded online. Both sides addressed it indirectly afterward. And yet, even here, Choppa reiterated that he did not want real violence. He framed the situation as entertainment, invoking Tupac-era beef as inspiration rather than genuine threat. But here's the problem with that framing. You don't get to choreograph real life like a diss record. Once physical run-ins happen, the line between art and reality disappears. Despite multiple diss tracks, public encounters, and online narratives, this feud remains unresolved. Not because it's escalating, but because it's asymmetrical. Choppa wants engagement. YoungBoy wants distance. Choppa wants acknowledgement. YoungBoy wants dismissal. Choppa frames the beef as lyrical sport and spiritual duty. YoungBoy treats it like noise. That imbalance is why Choppa keeps dropping records and why YoungBoy barely reacts, because responding would legitimize the accusation. And YoungBoy has never accepted being anyone's cautionary tale. This isn't about who raps better. It's not about streams. It's not about clout. This feud represents a deeper fight inside hip-hop: expression versus responsibility, survival versus morality, reality versus rebranding. NLE Choppa believes artists must intervene when influence turns harmful. NBA YoungBoy believes authenticity doesn't require permission. Neither position is fake. But when one artist calls the other poison, there is no middle ground. There's no final diss coming that wins this. There's no viral moment that resolves it. There's no handshake waiting backstage. This ends one of two ways. Either Choppa eventually stops chasing a response, or YoungBoy breaks his silence and turns this fully personal. Until then, this feud exists in a permanent state of tension. Not explosive, but unresolved. And sometimes unresolved is the most dangerous form of conflict there is.